I realized after that video that I posted about participating in Vlogtober that I didn't introduce myself. I was planning on, I think when I started recording, I was thinking that I might edit in an intro later. But since the whole thing about this is just, being less perfectionistic than I would typically be, there won't necessarily be a whole lot of editing. So yes, here we are. My name is Alexandra, and I am an intellectual intuitive who enjoys learning through connection. And so a lot of what I do and have done is about me getting to know folks one-on-one or through reading their work, listening to their work. I've always been an avid reader. I've always been a music lover. So I enjoy storytelling in pretty much every medium. While I enjoy visual arts, drawing is not in my skill set. Sometimes I dabble in photography. But yeah, words and my voice have typically been my primary means of expressing my creative self. I'm passing a school that has just let out, and one of the young people crossing the street, I guess, was doing her best to act as a crossing guard to make sure that I stopped. So that's where that little chuckle came from. I talked about being 43 in my last, or in, a previous video. So that certainly counts me as middle-aged. I happen to be perimenopausal, so stuff relating to that will come up occasionally. Especially when my body isn't sure if it wants to be hot or cold. I spent 11 months vehicle dwelling, 6 months of which was traveling across the southern portion of the country. It started last winter, so that was part of the objective, was to be somewhere warm when it was cold in Michigan. But really, some of the other reasons I wanted to do it, I'd always wanted to do more traveling. I have always loved driving and traveling, though I hadn't had a chance to do as much of it as I would like. Growing up in LA, driving to the Bay and Vegas are pretty standard. I had a chance to drive to Denver. At one point, I was driving a friend back to school. Actually, wait, you know what? Scratch all that. I was talking previously about trying not to be self-conscious about being on camera. But I was. So I called myself getting my eyebrows done, which is at this point one of the only things that I outsource. I do a lot of my other beauty stuff myself now. And it didn't go the way I wanted. And it was frustrating because the whole reason I got it done was to feel more confident on camera, and the way it ended up made me like not want to be on camera at all. Even as dark as my eyebrows look now, they're so much less aggressive than they were. So yeah. So, you know, elephant in the room has been addressed. I had traveled a little bit through poetry. I've been to several national poetry slams, a few Women of the World poetry slams, and that provided opportunities to travel, but typically that would be travel by plane. And then of course when I would fly from Los Angeles to Detroit to visit family, that happened, you know, obviously quite a few times over the years. Not as often as I would have liked, but I'll get more into that over time. So this this trip incorporated visiting places that I've previously lived, as well as having a chance to explore new places, and completely on my own terms. You know, I created my schedule. I determined how long or how short a stay would be and what I would do while I was out there. Of course, factoring in logistics, like the need to make money, and also just creating balance. I think that was something that was yes, important in general, but particularly important for me in terms of feeling grounded, even as I was literally moving through like space and time. When you consider, you know, going through different time zones, as well as different elevations, and the people around me also having different routines. I have a lot to say about that trip, and that will be a series over time, not necessarily in order either. One of the many things that made sense once I learned, actually right before I got on the road, that I have ADHD that was never diagnosed. And I know the name has changed over time. I'm definitely not hyperactive. But one of the things that made so much more sense once I understood that is the fact that I've never been capable of telling a story in a linear way. And so the story of that journey will be no different. What are some other good kind of introductory, laying the groundwork type things? Well, a lot of things will just come up naturally. But yeah, Alexandra No I, thank you so much for joining me as I re-enter this world of like social media in general and video media in particular, And in a way, it makes a lot of sense considering that I have always enjoyed storytelling, not just, witnessing others' stories, but also sharing my own story, as well as, see, and this, I think this is where it's kind of strange for me with the like doing this type of online sharing, is that I'm very comfortable speaking to audiences, like to people talk about being scared of public speaking. That's not a fear I have. Yes, I am introverted, but typically if I'm going to be doing public speaking, I know about it in advance so I can prepare for it mentally and emotionally. And even as much as I love tech, I actually don't FaceTime a lot. I'm on Zoom a fair amount, but this just it inherently feels different from that. So a lot of it is just adjusting to the overall concept. I'm no stranger to talking to myself. Being raised as an only child, I feel like it comes with the territory. I'm also a Gemini. So it's the talking, like, yes, talking to myself, but like doing it in a way so that when others witness it, they will feel as if I'm speaking with you in mind, which I am. And I think it's the eye contact thing, which I think is it can already be challenging for me. I either give like super intense eye contact or none. And so finding a middle ground with that will also be part of this process. And then of course, the normal basic stuff like looking at the camera versus looking at myself. That should be easier once I get more comfortable with a setup that allows me to use the rear facing camera, so looking at myself won't even really be an option. Yeah, I think that's all for right now. A lot of, in addition to the fact that I will often be multitasking, some of those times I will be doing so in a way that kind of gives you insight into like kind of what moves me, not even just that, like what some of the things that make me who I am. It's fall now. I started some yarn projects in the summer, but now that I'm actually starting to feel that crispness in the air, it's reminding me, okay, if those are things you want to get done, especially if it's something that I want to, say for example, if I make a scarf, I'd like to be able to wear it. And so it would behoove me to finish it sooner than later. Or if I intend to make any gifts, that would also be a sooner than later thing because, yeah, the time sneaks up. And even just, yeah, cooking. Because I think, too, like aside from the whole niche concept, I think there is a lot of value in sharing one's own experience, like past experiences, and also their day-to-day in real time, because so many people feel alone or disconnected from like the world and others, and in terms of what they do every day or what their lives look like. But truly, so many of us are much more similar than we realize. One of the kind of defining characteristics of my life right now is that I am providing like supportive care to my mother. And like that was the catalyst for me returning home at the time that I did. Although me understanding that that time would come sooner than later was also a catalyst for me taking the trip, because I knew that the window for me to do something like that was shrinking. But I know a lot of people, particularly women, particularly middle-aged women, like it's right there in the name, right? Like we're in that middle generation where now our parents need more care, and we may or may not have a younger generation that we're providing care to. So balancing caring for others with caring for ourselves is extremely relatable. So, and then too, just not only did I live before the cloud, but there are a lot of things that I once possessed that I no longer do, whether we're talking about like cool stuff, right? Like a camera, or whether we're talking about absolutely irreplaceable things like journals. And I have had a hard drive crash, which is why I'm so so into the cloud now. And so another reason why I want to be more intentional about capturing my stories and my day-to-day is so that not only can others potentially benefit from my experiences and my stories, but also so that I can have the opportunity to reflect and learn from myself. That I think was one of the biggest takeaways of having the chance to go there. There's so much in the experience of visiting a place where you once lived, particularly when you were significantly younger, because you have a lot more insight and understanding that you can look through as you are in that space and reflecting on who you were when you were there before, and seeing how far you've come and where you are now, and understanding what led to that transformation, that human revolution. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.